Thanks very much for joining us on the telecast. I'll speak to you now after the Prime Minister's address to find out how it is going down in Hyderabad as well as in Andhra Pradesh. Let me quickly invite Sanjay Agarwal into this conversation. Sanjay Agarwal, now, last time around there was a notification from the MHA. The Prime Minister did not address the country. What are your expectations and hopes? Mr. Agarwal, if you can hear me, sir.
Yeah, I just heard the last part of the
what are your expectations and hopes, sir?
I think the expectations and hopes now are that we should, as a nation, get a serious stimulus package. I won't be able to call it a stimulus package. I think the term should be rescue package. The country is suffering on many fronts. Being a representative of trade industry, I might be focusing a bit more on what the trade industry needs, but I guess every other sector needs. Now, for example, migrant laborers I don't represent. But I guess this is, again, one of the most important things that needs to be addressed. We have to find a way to help these people who are in distress, whether I would rather than not call them just migrant labor, I would use the term migrant labor and the daily wagers who do not have any employer to look up to. These are the people who practically earn their wages on a day-to-day basis, and they've been out of work for a long time. The government has to make sure that there is a foolproof method via direct benefit transfer to be able to transfer the needed help to them. A 500 rupee transfer to a Jan Dhan account probably is
doesn't do anything. It doesn't achieve anything. It's a pointless effort. 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees doesn't. You have to think about 6, 8, 10,000 before start making a difference.
Absolutely. The second is be very, very liberal about distribution of food grain to the needy. There might be some people who might be taking a bit of unfair advantage, but end of the day, we are a country which has got 3 to 4 years worth of food grain stocks, and if not used now, then when? I know that there are concerns regarding shortages being discovered in the FCI stocks, but that has been there for, I think...
No, because we know about scams and scandals. When the skeletons come out, they'll come out. But, okay, specifically, now just hold your thought on that. Let me invite Joyita on exactly the same thought. Joyita Basu, if you can hear me.
Yeah. I don't see the economic part is
Sanjay Agarwal, the Prime Minister, of course, is not going to take it point by point on the economics. The Finance Minister will have to take it at some later date. So what's your best hope? Your best hope is that today we are told when that will happen?
You see, my best hope is that at this point, when there are some huge difficulties that the public is facing, the Prime Minister, I would expect him to address some of the major pain points at least, not everything. But at his level, I think there are crores of people who don't have work and money to eat. I think they have to be addressed. There are crores, and I'm repeating, there are crores of MSMEs who are being forced to pay wages for a period when their factories were shut and they were incurring losses. That needs to be addressed. There are crores, if not crores, there are lakhs of assessees whose GST and IT income tax refunds are still pending, which has to be addressed, which is a liability on the books of the government. Talking of liability on the books of the governments, there is at least 20 to 30,000 crores, maybe more, of the money which is an accepted liability on the books of the government PSUs and government departments. That is not yet being paid. Under various guises earlier, till March, the guise used to be that we don't have funds and we'll give you a fresh allocation when the new financial year starts. And now the guise is that we don't have labor, we don't have the staff to do it. Now this all, bunkum must be done away with, and the industry must be paid its dues and the money, otherwise they are going to sink under double whammy of paying wages for work not done.
And they'll sink, and then right now this is about saving jobs. We can worry about creating jobs immediately after that. Okay, just stay with me. Just stay with me, sir.
Jobs won't survive.
Just stay with me. Let me rope in Tapas, my colleague, joining us now from Kolkata to get a perspective out of Bengal. Tapas, what is the position of the Bengal government as communicated to the Prime Minister yesterday? Okay, before I take a quick break, Sanjay Agarwal, solution to the states. Now, how do we get past the problems that if every state has a different policy simply regarding manpower movement and goods movements?
Well, I guess manpower movement and goods movement, let us take one at a time. As far as goods movement is concerned, at least theoretically, there is a MHA circular which is very clear that no goods movement across the country can be disturbed on any pretext, whether it is essential or not. Unfortunately, there have been exceptions, Haryana being one of the prominent states which has done that recently, saying that their borders are being sealed because they will not allow any further infection to come into their state, which is quite unfortunate. They could have taken certain precautions or extra precautions, but that is what it has.
Okay, Sanjay Agarwal, from the feedback that you're getting, sir, you know, which is not on the record here, have things improved in regarding movement of trucks, empty trucks, goods carrying trucks, or have they become worse? Are they the same?
You see, as I said, one is practically an announced disruption which Haryana has done. In Haryana, practically they stop each and every truck that was entering or leaving the state. That is one part. Unannounced blockages have been, instances have been heard across the country. So I think this is one very serious issue that has to be addressed. The MHA circular must be honored in letter and spirit.
Okay, let's come and discuss
that is on the goods. On manpower.
On the manpower, I mean, how tenable is it to manage without movement of manpower?
You see, there are two aspects to movement of manpower. The first aspect is that both the sending and the receiving state have to be on the same page. If both are not, there is a difficulty. And then, in case the two states are not contiguous, then it is also, which is usually the case, in that case, unless there is a train which carries passengers from state A to state B, the states C, D, and E in between again have their own rules and regulations. So this is an issue which has to be addressed at a national level, which then the states must follow that template. Within that template, there could be a provision for some states not accepting their incoming migrants, prospective migrants, for which also I think they have to give an adequate notice, because people in the
it's all complicated right now. We're expecting a little bit of more clarity in 25 minutes from the Prime Minister. I take a break for 30 seconds. We come back, then we are non-stop until we hear Prime Minister Modi speak. See you in 30 seconds. This only applies in a normal year when you have to very desperately worry about your deficit, which you should. This is not a normal year. Sanjay Agarwal, I think we've gotten a bit clouded in this thought process. I am beginning to fear that there are still many people who are deeply worried about deficit, and they are seeming to have the upper hand in this argument. And if that remains the case, and we don't actually have a largely impactful economic revival plan, we are in a lot of trouble.
Rishabh, some of the most conservative economists, including Dr. Raghuram Rajan, our ex-RBI governor, and I believe a few other former RBI governors, and most of the prominent economists across the world have been very, very specific that India should throw this theory of expenses and this deficit as a percentage of GDP, at least for this particular period of time. This would be, I think, an extremely rash move. I will say it will be rash to look at the deficit number while letting people die and while letting the economy die. All these deficits and all these ratios are meant to have a healthy economy. And if you kill the economy, whom are you rescuing? Even the credit rating agencies and everybody. How everybody is giving us the fear of God of all these.
I think the credit rating agencies can take a pause for the cause. We'll come back to them next year. Let's not worry about what they're rating your BBB rating, your bonds and etc. We'll worry about them next year.
Absolutely. You see, all these credit rating agencies, they don't lift a finger when America does something or Europe does something. And India has got a large enough size here to get out of that mentality when we are afraid of what the Western specialists or IMF is going to say. We are not beholden to IMF or World Bank or anything.
No, certainly not. Let them worry about Pakistan. Sorry to put that in, but let them worry about Pakistan and bailing out them. Okay.
But let me tell you, some of the senior most economists out of World Bank and IMF have also clearly stated, or rather hinted, that India should not bother about the deficit numbers. People who do that are going to...
No, deficit, again, the premise has to be, Joyita Basu, that we are thinking about budget 2022 and not budget 2021. Because if you think about budget 2021, we've had it. That's going to be a 6-7% deficit budget. It's just, that's what it is. That's how things are.
I mean, right now we are in an emergency ward. We can explain the delay.
Sanjay Agarwal wants to come in. Sanjay Agarwal, come in, and then I'll go back to Jyoti ji.
You see, if we talk about deaths,
we have to talk about the total number of deaths also. I think I was not able to hear what Dr. Malik was talking. Maybe she has the numbers. We need to know how many deaths have taken place across the country on a month-to-month, year-on-year comparison. So how many COVID deaths? Of course, we might have saved quite a good number. But how many additional deaths have we got? Similar data for other countries is not very encouraging. And I don't think our health system is much better than the health systems of Europe or America, where we have seen that the number of non-COVID deaths has risen substantially because the patient either too afraid to go to the hospital or the hospital refuses to take in the patient. A lot of healthcare is totally stalled because of COVID.
That is true. Okay, now here's good news and bad news. Yeah,
coming to the financial matters, let me just add that the state governments are absolutely hand to mouth. They are going bankrupt. Many states have already announced, while insisting that the businessman must pay full salary to everybody, the states themselves are saying that we don't have the money and we are going to put a 20, 30, even 50% cut in the salaries.
Okay, so does that practically make sense? Now, the money movement is everything about in economics. Movement from one to the other is everything. When the system is choked, somebody has to be the plumber to come and unchoke it by gushing in water through it. You have to go hard, you have to go fast. Why that hasn't happened thus far, we don't know. It is true that the last pandemic, let me just put the caveat out for our viewers, sir. It is true that in the last pandemic, the countries in Europe that paid focus on recovering health first had a much better economic recovery post facto. Now, that's the practical reality of the Spanish flu time of 1918. The countries that in health recovered the best, saved the maximum number of lives, had a better economic recovery. This could be the same or not be the same. In the health situation, we have done, no doubt, exceedingly well. The problem with all scenarios is...
On the COVID front, sir.
On the COVID front, which is what I'm saying, we've done exceedingly well.
But there are other aspects of...
Just hang a second, Mr. Agarwal, just finish my thought. The premise is this. If we had done nothing, and we had done exceedingly badly, then that would have been the crisis. That is the part that is more manageable right now. We are ready, we have more equipment than we require, we have the PPE in place, we have sort of the test kits in place, we need a little bit more of that. But we are in that situation which is enabling us to talk about opening the economy and start wondering about stimulus spending. Okay, before we listen to the Prime Minister in about 6 minutes' time, let me get Dr. Malik back into this conversation. Dr. Malik, very straightforward question. If the cases go up, if the number of deaths go up, is it practically possible to re-impose? Okay, same question to you, Ms. Agarwal. If the number of deaths suddenly spiral, 4x, 5x, 10x, 20x, it could happen. What do we do?
Follow the Sweden model. Our population has by and large learned the benefits and the way to have social distancing and the precautions that everybody is needed to have. I think more than 90-95% of the people must have learned it. Out of 5%, maybe some don't need it because they are not in a crowded area. There still might be some outliers which are there in every country. But the point is, follow the Swedish model. Don't go for lockdowns on anything. Take precautions. Be vigilant. Have more vigilant, attitude by various agencies of the government. But at the same time, do not have a lockdown. Sweden, without a lockdown, has done as badly or as well as its neighbors who have had very severe lockdowns.
Okay, so
we have had the initial period of lockdown, which has been pretty long now. It's been a long period of lockdown, which we've already had. So I think beyond this, as a country, we cannot afford it.
Okay, no. So there's the premise is there that it is simply untenable. Or the ABS brake system approach of open, close a little bit, open, close a little bit.
That is very disruptive.
This is my point. May or may not work. So we have to now decide whether we have sufficient data to tell us this is manageable or not. We didn't have that data 2 months ago. You had to prepare for the worst. We have done that bit. We have gone through an unprecedented quarantine. Now we have to have a dedication from all of us to take the efforts that we have done seriously in maintaining what all we managed to achieve in the past 50 odd days, not to take it